want you all to make sure that you are prepared for next semester, because now is the time, not next semester, but next fall, spring. This is the time period that you all should be doing this right now, actually. All right, so how many of y'all have completed the FAFSA previously? Just raise your hand. So pretty much everybody, perfect. And I like this small group. So you all are really familiar with the FAFSA gets you your loans, your grants, all that kind of good stuff. All right, and you know with the FAFSA is going to be based on your aid is going to be based on the income that you receive, the household size, your assets, and the number of dependents. So it's not a one size fits all for financial aid. It depends on your particular situation. You might have a friend who you think might have a similar situation. They may be receiving a little bit more Pell Grant than you, but there are certain variables that kind of can determine your financial aid package. So the big thing, how many of you all have filled out your FAFSA for the next academic year? I have 3 out of the room. What I want you all to do later on as soon as possible is go ahead and fill out your FAFSA for the next academic year, because that FAFSA became available on October the 1st. And some of our resources are on a first come, first served basis, some of the grants that come from the state. So the earlier you do it, the better, because I would hate for you to be in a situation where you might have been eligible for something, and just because you took a little bit of a delayed route to complete that process, that you might have missed out on that opportunity. So for example, they have a TSAT grant to where it's a first come, first served basis if you qualify, and some students wait until March or even April to start applying, and they miss out on $2,000 if they're eligible. So I just don't want you all to miss out on anything that you may be eligible for. So go ahead and complete this process as soon as possible. And just to let you know, it's based on your 2016 tax information. So hopefully all of those taxes have been completed, and so it won't have to be in delay, because years and years ago, at least a couple of years ago, you had to actually wait till your taxes were done to actually do the process, but you don't have to do that anymore. They cleaned it up last year. Do I have any questions thus far? All right. So in the process, actually bringing in the tax information is really quick. You don't have to actually sit there and type in all the information unless you really want to. They have a process called a data retrieval tool, which essentially connects you to the IRS, and it just populates all your tax information for you. So it's really, honestly, no excuse to delay the process that long, because you can go ahead, set up everything, then pull in your information if your taxes are done for that respective year. So you all are really familiar with this process. So you fill out the FAFSA, and then the key thing is once you complete that FAFSA, we're going to be asking for documentation from you throughout this academic year. So for example, if you were to fill out your FAFSA now, and when we start bringing the information in, you may be selected for a process called verification, where we might ask for different worksheets, different tax transcripts. So it's going to be really important that once you actually complete the FAFSA, that you check your Memphis email account and make sure that we have all the documents that we need, because that can delay the process. Some students, for whatever reason, they might not check their email, but it's going to be really important for you to check your email and kind of stay abreast of the situation. And so for you all, you won't be packaged or you won't receive your aid package until the spring once grades are found, because we have to make sure that you are actually making satisfactory academic progress toward graduation before we can actually award you your aid for the next academic year. So it's kind of a phased approach. So we may go ahead and ask you for all, you're going to complete the FAFSA now, we're going to ask you for all your documents, but you won't know exactly what you're going to really get until you actually get to that end of the spring semester and grades are final. And then at that point in time, you accept the award, and then when fee payment is ready for next August, it'll go to your account, and then if you have a balance, you pay that balance. If you don't have a refund, great, just use it wisely, using her feedback. So, just so you all know, how many, I saw on the roster had one freshman. Is that freshman here? It's not. Oh, that's you? Okay. All right, so as you kind of see, the amount of aid or the amount of loans you can kind of receive is going to progress as you move through, as you matriculate through college. So in your freshman year, your max is going to be $5,500. Your sophomore year is going to be $6,500. And as your sophomore year, according to your hours, not just the years that you've been here, but based on your hours. And then also your junior and senior year is going to be $7,500 and $7,500. So what if you're in one of those situations to where your loans and any other aid that you have is not enough, and you are actually a dependent student? We have a process called the Parent Plus loan. And this is where the loan, your parent applies for the loan, and there's a credit check that will be done. And if the credit check goes through, then your parent will take out the loan on your behalf in their name. And the credit check has to be done. There's no way around the process. And then you can fill the gap with whatever loan monies you need for that particular academic year, for that particular situation. If we fall into a situation to where the credit check has been done, and then that the credit check was denied, or essentially the loan was denied, then what's going to happen, the student can take out some additional loan monies in their names and not the parent's name. So you see right here, essentially, if the credit check is done and it's denied, and you're a freshman, you can receive additional, in the student's name, you can receive an additional $4,000. That's the case for your freshman year, and that's the case for your sophomore year. And then if you fall into that same situation, you're a junior and senior, notice those amounts are $5,000 to $5,000. So that's in addition to the regular loans like the unsub and sub. That's in addition to that kind of help fill the gap if you fall into that situation. So when you log into your My Memphis account and you click on that Accounts tab, you're going to see what we need from you. It's going to be either a red check mark or a red flag or a green check mark. Red means that's something that you need to go ahead and take care of, and the quicker you do it, the better. Green means that you've got to complete it and don't feel satisfied, because we may ask for something else even after we have the green check mark. So once we get to that point where a grade has been final and it's time for you to go out there and kind of accept your awards, you're going to go out there, you're going to go to the respective aid year. For next year, it's going to be 18-19, and then you navigate there, and then you agree to the terms and conditions, which you all should be familiar with, and then you go ahead and either accept the award. And remember, you don't have to accept the full amount of the award. So for example, just because you receive, in this example, $6,250 or $6,250, and you don't need all that $6,250, just put in the value of the amount that you need and then go ahead and accept that. If something comes up a little bit later on, you can come in our office and say, hey, I need this additional amount for X, Y, Z, or you just need the additional amount, and then we can actually change this for you, but only get or try to take out what you're gonna really need. All right, so this is the time period where you all should kind of, honestly, if you want to go to summer school, you kind of need to think about that at the beginning of the fall term, because you only have a finite amount of resources for that particular year, and that includes fall, spring, and summer. So if you're thinking about going to summer school, just kind of keep that in mind as far as additional the resources that are available to you as far as your loan amounts. You don't want to take everything out in the fall and spring, and you plan to go to summer, and then you kind of left in a catch-22 where you need some additional resources. All right, so this kind of goes into scholarships. For the Hope Scholarship, if I have any students that are on the Hope Scholarship, you can only get the Hope Scholarship if you're a Tennessee resident and you've graduated from the high school and you receive it as a freshman year. There's no way to get the Hope Scholarship after you've been attending the University of Memphis. I have some students that ask that, so that's why I just want to kind of clarify that. So the way the Hope Scholarship works, you have to fill out the FAFSA every year. The FAFSA is essentially your application once you've actually earned the Hope Scholarship to make sure that I have it every year. So the way we kind of evaluate you to make sure you're going to be receiving the Hope Scholarship, we evaluate you at the different benchmarks. It's going to be the 24-hour benchmark, the 48-hour benchmark, the 72-hour benchmark, and also the 96-hour benchmark. And so if you kind of notice, at the 24 and 48-hour benchmark, you have to have a cumulative grade point average of a 2.75. It's not until you get to that 72-hour benchmark that you have to have a 3.0. Unfortunately, a lot of our students, or not a lot, a few of our students, they end up losing it at that benchmark because unfortunately they haven't made a 3.0 at all. It's kind of hard all of a sudden if you've just been making a 2.75 to get to that 3.0. So that's a gap right there, a little section right there where we have students that lose it. But don't get disappointed, because there is a way to actually maintain it, but that's called provisional basis. And so essentially on the provisional basis, if you are at 72 hours and your cumulative grade point average is between a 2.75 and a 2.9, but your actual semester grade point average is a 3.0, you can maintain it. The only thing is that we're going to evaluate you every semester rather than that breakdown at every essentially 24 hours. So if you're on a provisional basis, we're going to evaluate you every semester to make sure that you are meeting that 3.0 term GPA.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I just went through this process in the summer, and my GPA is 2.9. But when I I went to, financial aid, they reevaluated me and I was still able to get the, scholarship.
For the Hope?
Yeah, I was still able.
What was your term GPA?
3 something.
That's why, because you're within that range of the 2.75 to 299, and if your term GPA is a 3.0, and you're on a provisional basis, you're safe.
Yeah, I had 90 some, credit out.
Right.
And I still have some to go. So what you're saying is, next semester in the spring, I'll be evaluated.
At the end of this semester, we're gonna evaluate you again to make sure you maintain it at 3.0 term GPA.
Okay.
So every semester, fall, and then this spring, and then if you're graduating next fall, you know, you're gonna be good then because you're gonna have it for the fall.
Okay, so I need to have at least a 3.0
Term GPA.
for this semester.
Correct. All right, and so you also have Hope. You have Hope for the summer, but you can receive the Hope Scholarship for the summer. And we won't start that process as far as taking the paperwork for that until about March. And you also have to have a minimum of 6 hours for that as well. You got a question?
I was wondering about, because I remember I lost, like, had one bad semester, my GPA fell to like a 2.96, but I was able to get it back. Well, I said next following semester I was able to get it back above, like, the semester GPA went back above 3.0. My cumulative GPA stayed the same, but they took me off Hope, and I was also wondering, like, I guess what was the maximum amount of hours you could have before you can't qualify for Hope anymore? Because I try to over the summer I try to contact them because my GPA is back over like a 3.0 GPA for the past like semester and a half.
And see, for you, it's not until you get to 4. This is a little bit different from the divisional. So if you lost Hope, and that's going to be right here. So the thing that kind of makes you lose Hope is going to be, not kind of, you lose Hope, is going to be you get your bachelor's. If you're 5 years removed, or if you have 120 hours, or you have 8 semesters. Now the thing is for you, so essentially you're saying you lost your Hope Scholarship.
Yeah, back in my junior year.
Your junior year, okay. And how many hours do you have?
Now it's over 120 now.
So the thing is, there's no more evaluation once you hit the 96-hour benchmark, because that's the last place that we actually evaluate. So unfortunately, you passed the time frame, unfortunately. But when are you graduating?
In the spring.
This coming spring?
Should be, hopefully.
Okay. So essentially for students who may need some additional resources, unfortunately you're about to graduate, so this won't affect you. We have a process called Tiger Scholarship Manager, and it's on that sheet that was kind of passed around. Essentially, this is where all of our private and departmental scholarships are. This is where you can find those donor-funded scholarships that, you know, our outside donors provided to us. So that process is going to start November the 14th through February the 2nd. And it's going to be really critical for you all to kind of, you know, look out there and see what you're interested in applying for, and then actually, you know, finish the process. And this is for resources not for this academic year at all. It's going to be for the 18-19 academic year. So it's going to be for next fall and next spring. I'm going to get you.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do, we're going to email you to kind of let you know about it. And so if you wanted to now, you can kind of go out to, you won't see them actually open, but you can go out to our scholarship page and then click on Tiger Scholarship Manager. And then whatever your major is, or whatever, if you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, you can type the College of Arts and Sciences, and then give you a whole list of all those different opportunities. And so it's going to be really important for you to make sure you kind of navigate and see what's all available to you. So when it's time to open it, you just go ahead and start applying. So once again, it's going to be on our scholarship page. You click right here, and then it'll bring you to the actual website. And it's pretty cool software, because what is going to happen, it's going to pull in all your academic information. Of course, you have to fill out just basic information initially. It's going to pull in everything that we have in the system for you, your grade point average, your majors, your minors. If you're one of those students that have a couple of different minors, it's going to pull all that information in for you. And then it's going to give you this green arrow that's going to point up and say, essentially apply here or click on here for the recommended opportunities. And then it's up to you to click on that and kind of go through each one of those opportunities. I'll tell you some of the mistakes some of our students make. One, they start the process and actually never finish the process. So that's the equivalent of an incomplete application. 2, they will unfortunately not submit any kind of materials as far as the essay and all that kind of stuff. They'll start the process and not finish it. 3, if it's one that requires a reference letter, they may either A, put in the wrong email address for that person, or 4, they may actually not communicate with that person they're asking for the reference letter from, and that person is not aware that it's coming, and so it doesn't get completed. And if it does not get completed, that's the equivalent of an incomplete application. And then 5 is kind of ties to that person that I've asked for the reference for, they never actually do it because I haven't asked them to stay on it to make sure they actually completed it for me. So those are some of the issues that some students, they may qualify for it. I'm not going to say they're going to necessarily get the scholarship, but they can be thoroughly qualified, but because they haven't completed the process, their application will not go on to that selection committee to be evaluated.